pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege.
Well, let's talk about your career as a diplomat and diplomatic service in Ghana.
Well, I've been here now for close to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that I have a few more years to go. I really enjoy being here. It's the best post that I've had so far. Before Ghana, I've spent 3 years in Vietnam, in the Embassy of Denmark in Hanoi. I've also spent 5 years in Tanzania. And way back, I spent some time with my family in Mali. And I've been, before joining the diplomatic service, I was a development researcher. So I was doing research in a number of the West African countries, Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger. I really wanted to go back to West Africa, also after having seen many of the other countries in the region.
Is it different from here, comparing Ghana to other countries?
All countries are different, of course. But there is something in West Africa, I think, that attracts very many foreigners. The openness and the forthcoming way of being received is very special. I like being in Vietnam, but it took a long time to get close friends. And in Ghana, you get it the day after you come. There's also something related to the Danish-Ghanaian relations, I think, that we have had close contact for so many years. That helps it. When I say that I'm representing Danida, doors are automatically opened and people are friendly to me. So maybe that plays a role also.
What are some of the things that we are doing together as two nations?
We actually started cooperating small scale immediately after independence. But for the past 25 years, we've had an extensive development cooperation. When Denmark scaled up its activities in 1992, Ghana was a relatively poor country, very different from today. And we have been focusing massively on health and water and sanitation activities, not least. But we've had actually activities in a wide range of areas, also including rural roads, support to private sector development, support to civil society organizations, judiciary service, decentralization, parliament, lots of areas. So that's been our cooperation for very many years. Now when Ghana has become a middle-income country, lower-level middle-income country, we are in a transition where we're gradually scaling out on our development cooperation while building up our trade cooperation and trying to attract Danish investments to Ghana.
How is that going?
We got a lot of assistance from Her Majesty the Queen of Denmark in November 2017 when we had a state visit. The focus of this state visit was from aid to trade. So this was a way of trying to attract Danish companies to come to Ghana, establish working cooperation with Ghanaian companies, see the possibilities of investing in the country, and also to make Ghanaian authorities and companies aware of the competences that we can offer in Denmark. It went very well.
Well, moving from aid to trade has been the president's mantra. Do you see us getting there?
I do. I think a lot of steps are taking in this direction these years. And the fact that the government is so focused on this agenda, Ghana Beyond Aid, is an extremely good sign. We also saw a lot of interest from the Danish companies. We had 93 Danish business people from 39 countries, companies accompanying the Queen. And we managed to have high-level interaction. The president took an interest in this visit. The vice president was with us for a full day for a business forum that we had. And there was a lot of ministers also actively engaging with these Danish companies. They were most impressed.
We are faced with the issue of sanitation. What are we effectively doing together in that area to bring sanity into our country?
This is a very important field and also something highlighted by the government over and over again, that something has to be done to the problem of garbage and general sanitation in Ghana. We have been constructing, with Danish money, mixed credits, a treatment plant for sewage here in Accra, which can actually take a very large share of the total sewage being otherwise dumped directly into the ocean, but can be cleared so that the water is cleaned. This is one of the areas. In Denmark, we have a sanitation system whereby all garbage from households are collected once a week. And then we have a sorting system sorting by source. So when I lived in Denmark, in my municipality, we were sorting in garbage according to whether it was glass,
Right.
paper, metal.
Yeah.
If it was green waste, then it was used for composting, and then other waste. So it's also the challenge here in Ghana is to see garbage not just as garbage, something filthy, dumped wherever, but a potential income source that can be used for other purposes.
Do you think we are sitting on gold and we don't even know that we are sitting on gold?
I think so. I think there's a huge potential for getting this organized in a way so it's actually gold.
You mentioned that your main areas of focus will be the health and then the water and sanitation.
That was our focus for development cooperation in the past. Now we're working on improving business conditions in Ghana, and also we're supporting the tax administration.
How is that going, the tax administration?
It's a challenge, but it's very important again that the government is so focused on improving the domestically generated revenue in Ghana. This is a condition, in fact, of moving beyond aid. Mm-hmm. Money needs to come from somewhere, right, to fund the health system, the education system, etc. So we thought that it was important for us, while phasing out of our development cooperation, that we're trying to help strengthening the capacity of the Ghanaian government to generate its own revenue. We are focusing in particular on the customs service, mm-hmm, where we see that there is a lot of potential for increasing the revenue. Other areas within the tax domain would be to improve the property taxes, probably also to get more from royalties from the mining industry. Ghana is privileged with having a lot of resources.
Right, so let's talk about the fourth delegation of Ghanaian architectural companies and urban planners to Copenhagen to study the Danish experience of isolating buildings, recycling waste, and using wind and solar energy, which was organized by your embassy. Could you please tell us more about that?
We've been doing this for some years. Instead of inviting Danish companies to go to Ghana, we did that in the context of the state visit. But we think it's actually more fruitful to invite Ghanaian companies to go to Denmark and see what we can offer, what kind of technology we have, what are the business possibilities of linking up with Danish companies. So we've done that for some years, and there's been an overwhelming interest by architects in particular, but also from contractors in the building sector, of going to Denmark and look at it, exactly the things that you mentioned. We're very strong in energy efficiency, mm-hmm, in renewable energy, in producing building materials which will not require a lot of heating, mm-hmm, or cooling in Ghana's case. And you mentioned it's the fourth time that it's architects and constructors which are going. And we think that this will probably be the last of the delegation visits in this particular field, because now they know each other well. They have already
moved from there.
The role of the embassy is to facilitate relations. But when we see that it's working well, we should focus elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And we will probably look at the food and agricultural area as the next area where we can invite Ghanaian companies to go to Denmark.
Let's talk about the Danish Investment Fund, IFD. What's up with it?
The Danish Investment Fund for Developing Countries, IFU, is located here in our embassy. We're so privileged to have them inside our embassy, which means that we can work strongly with them on potential investment activities in Ghana. They are providing funding, or they're actually buying shares in promising companies. The most interesting example, in my view, recently has been their share in the Margins Group, which is now supposed to produce the Ghana card. Margins Group has an agreement with the government of producing Ghana card for 28 million Ghanaians over the coming years. This is opening
Ghana card?
The Ghana card, the ID card, the biometric card, sophisticated biometric card. Mm-hmm. Produced here in Accra, okay, by the Margins Group in their ICPS factory, the Intelligent Cards Production Systems, which is located here in Accra. And we are very proud that there's Danish funding in this, because this is going to play a key role in the future.
Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. Well, Denmark topped the list. How did you do it? What are some of the things that we can also do right to get rid of corruption in our system?
Denmark has been number 1 or number 2 on the index for the past 10 years. We've been alternating a little bit with Finland and New Zealand.
So you must be doing right.
We have been putting emphasis on transparency and on accountability and respect for taxpayers' money. We haven't seen public funds as just something that you can spend however. We've been very conscious about people having worked hard to earn this money and paid 50% of their income in income taxes. So people are working hard to earn the money, and there need to be a lot of respect from civil servants handling this money. That also goes for our developing cooperation. This money didn't come from nothing. It's Danish people who have been working, paying 50% of their income. Hard-earned money. They've paid it to the Danish tax authority, and we have transferred money to Ghana for this to be spent well. And of course, when we are seeing that our developing cooperation funds is not spent well, then we're pursuing the matter to the bitter end. We've been doing this on an ongoing basis. We have some procedures. We need to make a report to our general auditor general whenever we see any deviation from agreements, and then we need to get money back.
Are we doing well with your money?
You are generally doing well, but when it happens that some of our collaborating partners are doing less well with our money, we are insisting to get the money repaid so that we can spend them as it has been agreed. And we're doing that in every single case we're getting across. But being tough on corruption when cases appear, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is another very promising sign that there will actually be sanctions when people are stealing money that should have been spent for the benefit of everybody and not just one person who is stealing. That is one of the very important steps that the government is now taking.
Are we doing enough when it comes to that? Because you mentioned accountability, you mentioned probity. We haven't done much in these areas. It is even difficult to bring people to book. Don't you think it is why most people don't see why they should pay taxes? Because at the end of the day, they don't even get, it is not transparent. We don't even know what the monies are used for.
There's no doubt that there's still a long way to go and much more can be done. But we also see some promising steps, such as the digitalization, as I mentioned, and the fact that there are now sanctions for those who are stealing money.
Right.
But much more can be done in the field of accountability.
What's your view about the Special Prosecutor's Office?
I think it's very promising. We've seen for years that the Auditor General has produced highly critical reports. They're actually doing a very good job. We've been working closely with them in the past, and other development partners are doing the same. They're doing a good job, but then after they have produced their reports, not much happened. This is where we're more hopeful now, that there will actually be a follow-up, and we are seeing already that the Auditor General is taking action in a number of cases when it has been documented that money has gone astray wrong ways. But more can be done. More can also be done by citizens who are demanding to know that how their money has been spent. Because I absolutely agree with you. If you want people to pay money, they need to trust that the government is spending them well. I think this is the trick in Denmark, to make people pay 50% of their income without complaining too much. Can only happen if they can see the benefits that they're getting. Yes. Our children go to school. It doesn't cost us anything. School is free. Our universities are free. We have clear water to drink. We have hospitals, complicated heart surgery, free of charge. Nothing will ever be invoiced to the patient. Yeah. It's free of charge because they have paid through their tax. So people need to see the advantages that they're getting from the government. It has to be a two-way process, because you cannot start provide servicing unless you get the tax. So people need to trust that this government is serious about how they're spending their money. Yeah. And the general mindset needs to be changed in a way so there's a lot of respect for the money that has been earned by people and paid in tax.
How big is the Danish community in Ghana?
It's not very big. It's difficult to count them because they think that Ghana is such a safe country, so they don't need to register on our list of Danes. Our estimate is between 100 and 200, but we're actually not sure. We have around 100 here in the Accra area, the coastal area, but we're not sure how many they are in other regions. Sometimes they will pass by and we'll suddenly discover somebody who has been here for years. but it is a small community. The Ghanaian community in Denmark is much larger. I spoke to the ambassador of Ghana to Denmark, Her Excellency Amale Awua Samoa, yesterday, and she said that there are 7 churches, Ghanaian churches in Copenhagen. I'm quite amazed because that gives an impression.
How many churches did you have on your own in Denmark?
Well, we have a lot of churches in Denmark, so it's not that they have doubled our number of churches or anything. Wow. But it is impressive that so many churches can be located in Copenhagen only. And I also know that every year there's a food festival in one particular area in Copenhagen, an African food festival, and 90% of the stalls are Ghanaian.
Wow. That's
so the Ghanaian community is very much present in Denmark. Yeah. It's also present and visible in the music scene, theater, and so on. The cultural activities undertaken by the Ghanaian community are very visible.
You are giving us so much to develop our country. What are you getting in return?
Well, we're getting a lot of Ghanaians in Denmark who are improving our food culture, our religious culture, our musical scene, theater, all this. But we are also, we're getting the friendship of Ghana, which is very important. But now on the commercial cooperation, you can say this is more of a two-way street where we have mutual benefits for the Danish companies and for the Ghanaian companies and the Ghanaian public in general. For very many years, when we were focusing on development cooperation, when Ghana was a poorer country, this was a very solidarity-driven activity, you can say, whereas now it's more a win-win for Ghana and Denmark.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are so much grateful for
Pleasure.
your time. Thank you.